coffee. We all like a good cup of coffee, and there's no other brand more synonymous with coffee around the world than Starbucks. And how excited were we when Starbucks arrived in South Africa? I mean, we'd had a wide selection of South African coffees, and we'll probably touch on that. Quite an impressive lineup. But when Starbucks arrived, I mean, people went bananas. I mean, people were standing around corners, waiting for the first store to open. And it's just one of those brands you seek out. You go to Dubai, you go to Berlin, you travel around the world, and you always gravitate towards a Starbucks. And I remember a holiday in Prague a couple of years back where I ended up going to Starbucks 3 or 4 times in the one day. The fact that it was snowing probably had quite a bit to do with it. But it's just one of those iconic brands. And like I said, mixed with coffee. I mean, what more could you ask for? And I'm thrilled to have Adrian Maizey join me. He's the CEO of Starbucks South Africa. Adrian, thank you so much for joining us for this interview.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you've got an exciting challenge that you've been working on for the last 12 months. I mean, you've just had the brand for, I suppose, just over a year. What's that year been like?
Yeah, it's been unexpected, obviously, for obvious reasons when we talk about the pandemic. But it's been probably the most exciting thing I've done. And it's for multiple reasons. Despite the accent, I'm South African born and raised, and the opportunity to boomerang back and participate. And actually, as an adult, I left when I was 18, but as an adult to work there, and I drive through some of the roads in South Africa, and I remember my dad speaking about driving down Witkoppen, for example, and I'm like, I want to pinch myself. He passed away 10 years ago, but no, it's been fabulous, and Starbucks is an incredible brand, and being part of that ethos and the organization, it's been quite the journey. Obviously, very difficult times, but we've pulled through, and I think we've done quite well given all things considered.
For sure. And, I think one of the big points that has come out in all of this is how, people are now spending more time at home. And we can probably touch on some of the products that you also have that are sort of take-home products or to enjoy at home rather than, enjoy in store. But let's go back to that time when you took over the brand. I mean, I think you bought it for just over 7 million Rand. It seemed like an incredible price for an incredible brand. I mean, I'm sure it came with its own fair share of headaches. I don't think, there's ever a great deal flat out. But taking over the brand, you must have had a vision for it or a clear understanding of how to get it back on track and to make it work.
Yeah, so I wish we paid 7. That was the purchase price for cash, but then we had to pick up all the liabilities. So there was quite a significant amount that our predecessor had run up. So we, of course, had to absorb all of that because folks conflate the brand with who actually is liable. But so it wasn't that great a deal. But I think honestly, we would have paid a lot more for it because we think the long-term prospects of a brand of this strength with the offering that it provides, it's quite a good one. So it's odd because the vision. If you had to ask me I believe I understand Starbucks quite well. I believe I'm a frequent user, a consumer of the brand, of the offering. So I related very well to it. And then I look at what South Africa has to offer, where the landscape sat, and I was like, this has not been managed appropriately, and there's a good opportunity to execute well from a management perspective. But really, the vision was about coming back to South Africa, about building a brand that has the ethos that is community focused, that's people focused. It's about the people that work there and about bettering their lives and the communities around it. And if you can make that work, I believe from a going concern perspective, you actually really have a unique competitive advantage in a country that of all countries around the world, South Africa does need a lot of upliftment, considering the journey that it's been on. And that really was the vision. The vision was, guys, I really went to my first degree relationships, the 1 degree, separation from myself. And I said, I've known you for 30 years. I want to do something special. I want to do it on my own. And I believe we have a unique opportunity in a unique country to execute. And that's the vision with this brand. And I don't know with any other brand whether it would have been something that I would have pursued as aggressively as I did here. So that was really the vision. As to the actual execution of what Starbucks is, there is, that is consistent with what we do around the world globally. And I believe we're going to do that. We're going to do it better than anywhere else. And that's really the internal vision is, can we be the best licensor of the brand or licensee of the brand in the globe or on the globe? And can we be one of the best companies in the world? So the vision is grand, but what's really driving it for myself is giving back. and trying to make a difference in a country that I'm, innately connected to. And that's what's important to me.
Well, Sandton and Greater Sandton has had its own luxury of Starbucks. I mean, we've got one. I mean, almost there's one in Sandton City. There's one in Rosebank Mall. I mean, I had one that was literally living next door to me. I mean, in walking distance. So there was a really good spread of Starbucks, but they were very concentrated. And of late, you then decided to expand those into other cities, and also with some interesting new concepts, sort of smaller stores. I don't know if that's unique to South Africa, if that's a bit of a world first, but just talk us through that strategy and in terms of what your idea was in terms of taking this brand further than sort of Greater Sandton and Johannesburg.
Yeah, so part of it is taking it to the people. So going along with the vision of giving back to society. But it is, when you think about the building of a brand, so it comes in, yes, we have a head start because it's such a well-established luxury brand per se. It's an affordable luxury, although it may be arguably expensive for a cup of coffee. We can all buy Frisco Reef coffee at home and fill it up and make instant coffee. But given where it is, it's not buying a BMW, right? It's 32 Rand to buy a coffee or a cappuccino. So it really is within the reach of most folks compared to that, or an iPhone, for example. But we started out big and that wasn't us. The predecessors built these big, large stores, which are economically challenged to have that larger footprint, but it creates a presence. And so you invert that as, well, that was expensive. It did create the presence and the brand appeal that we were looking for. Now we need to reach the community, whether it be through the digital omni-channel or whether it be from the neighborhood stores that are smaller footprints. So you can, if you happen to live near Rosebank, you could walk to the store, but if you're not going to drive in. The destination aspect will only last for so long. We need to convert this novelty to a necessity, and we do that by being within reach of the community, which means we're going into the outer line areas, build a smaller corner store, and then make it part of your daily routine.
Well, bringing the brand back home must have been quite an important part to all of this over the last 12 months. I mean, we often associate takeaway coffee with going to the office or being at the office and saying to a colleague, hey, why don't we go hop over to Starbucks and have a meeting there over a grand latte or whatever. How's that now played into your court in terms of, your take home brands?
The take home aspect of our business, while we keep them in store, you can also get them in the grocery chains and the like. Now, that is actually not us, that's Nestle, unfortunately for us. Starbucks had sold those rights a while back. We've seen a downtick in the guys who are going to the office. So they're going to the office and then they're no longer going to the office. So they're not grabbing that one cup of coffee to take back the desk or the break that they need with their friend. What we're seeing is the families come in. And so although we have fewer transactions, each transaction is at a larger price. The take-home aspect, the pods, we're in line from a price perspective within the grocery chains, within Nestle, but it's not a massive part of our business. So we're not seeing as much takeaway as you'd expect. From a take-home capsule perspective, what we are seeing, and we should be better at, and we're getting there. We're implementing mobile order and pay and delivery now within the next couple of months. That is where we are behind relative to our competition, and we need to step that up so that you can be on Uber Eats and the likes to serve you at home now that you're no longer going to an office per se.
I mean, sitting on the outside of the coffee business, it does seem like a very competitive business in South Africa. And at the same time, South Africans still seem like a very young coffee drinking nation. I don't think we're as advanced as maybe like Vienna or London or Dubai, where people drink coffee at all hours of the day. What's your sort of perspective on that? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so I think every country says there's coffee sophistication. So as much as without insulting the audience or anybody else, the Australians, I've heard the narrative, Australians are very sophisticated at coffee, and to offend every Australian out there, because I'm not a cricket fan of theirs, I don't know if they're sophisticated at anything. No, it's a joke. But the truth is, yes, there's a developed market. South Africa is for South Africa, we're sophisticated in quote unquote coffee. Europe has got a longer history and they have a stronger culture. I think we're more aligned from an American way of doing things than we are necessarily from a European perspective. I think French by French, Italians by Italian, South Africa is actually made by Americana type things. They like the Nike, they like the iPhone. The competition is strong. And I really do admire the boutique stores, the guy in the corner that there, especially in the Cape Town market, right? The South Africans have an immense style. I always go there and I'm fascinated by the decor and the architecture and people's homes and stores. So I think in that way, we're quite advanced. I think we actually don't, and I don't really view and I don't want to really go ahead and name all the competitors, but I view what you would think are competitors as our competitors. They really are competing on, get your cup of coffee and we serving a need. We're trying to provide a service, a next level service and offering, where is a place where you want to go and hang out, and it is basically a luxury experience. We're not there yet. We're working towards it. And I think that puts us in a portion of the market that is somewhat open and available for us to enter into versus everyone else, which is really competing on price. And we're not really interested in the game of competing on price. I think that's a race to the bottom. So yes, South Africa is sophisticated. I think they're developed. I think there are a few large brands we all know about, but I think there's a portion of the market that's available for us. And we're already at 26 stores. We've grown since we've taken over the brand. We've grown the brand from 12 stores to 24 stores. That's a significant growth in 1 year, considering the prior owners grew 12 stores in 4 years. And if we get to year end, we're probably close to 50 stores. So we're becoming a significant player. And I think that niche market is available for us. So that's a long answer to a short question.
Well, Adrian, you've mentioned you're working on a delivery aspect to the business. You're looking at growing the stores. I mean, all things, being as unpredictable as they are, but what are your hopes for 2021 in terms of the brand and in terms of the business?
So we're gonna grow a lot. I think we've got to, we really do have to hit the digital side of the business, but we want to go out of the malls into the habitual nature, it become a habit, a convenience for our customers versus the large stores today. And by reducing the store print, we make the store economics work a lot better. That's really the grand plan for the year. Bringing the right people in. It's also about developing the right culture. And as much as we want to say we want to have this best-in-class company, you've got to, they take time. I mean, we're way away from that, and we're developing what we can, and it's got to attract the right people. And so key is the right footprint, the right stores, the right partners, and then internally building up this business so that we can deliver on the promise to our store partners. We call them partners, they're employees, that we are there to serve them and they are there to serve our customers. And we've got to have the financial resources to do that while we're well backed. The store is still in its early innings, if you want to call it, from a sports analogy perspective, but we need to grow through that to get to scale, and then we can deliver on the promise. But it's about starting now, and hopefully with COVID somewhat getting behind us. I know it's not there yet with vaccinations, haven't yet started, but I do think there's light at the end of the tunnel, and so we're leaning forward quite aggressively.
Well, Adrian, I wish you all the best with your Starbucks endeavors in South Africa. As I say, it's a personal favorite brand as well. I always like to see one when I travel and also at home. And it sounds like you got some exciting things lined up, even though it is the most challenging time. And I hope we get to chat later on in the year and see how some of these ideas have unfolded. That's Adrian Maizey. He is the CEO of Starbucks South Africa. Thank you so much for joining us for this interview.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.